want to just take a little bit of a closer look at what's going to happen at the Afcon. Like I said, it starts today, and for the next 3 weeks, it's all about African football. Hopefully as entertaining as it should be. We've had a few that have been dampeners, haven't really been as entertaining as they should. But you know what? Hopefully this one does live up to expectation. Of course, it's in the Ivory Coast, and hopefully the teams can go on there and do the job. Now, when you think about who are the favorites for this tournament, of course, the first name that springs to mind are the defending champions, the Lions of Teranga. Senegal, of course, go into this as a top team, and everyone will be seated there thinking, you know what, this is a top team. It's they've got all their top players still there, but maybe you start to ask yourself a few questions here and there, or maybe I'm the only one who's thinking so. Sadio Mane is now in Saudi Arabia. Koulibaly, Kalidou, the captain, is in Saudi. Mendy is in Saudi. Does that affect the team? Does that make the team? Does that have an impact on the team? I'm just throwing it out there. What do you think? Does that have something? Would that have an impact with how the team is able to play? Because of course they are much young, they are a few years older, they are getting older, but the fact that they are not playing at the very top, does that one out? Though Senegal are not lacking in terms of talent. When you look at their team, when you look at the Spurs midfielder Matassa, when you look at the Marseille forward Ndiaye, who's been really good, and if you look at, they've got a new young kid called Lamine Camara. So you look at them and I'm just wondering, how can they still do it? Maybe they still are the team to beat. Can they do it? Or will they have a bit of pressure because these guys are getting on along in age and maybe not playing at the very, very, very top level? If they don't, who beats them? Who surprises them? Egypt maybe? Mo Salah has tried this twice. He hasn't gotten there. Would this be the year? Egypt haven't quite gotten going. I know they've gone close a couple of times, but it's not the Egypt of 2006, 2008, and 2010. The Hassan Shehata's side was unbelievable. Mohamed Aboutreka, Mohamed Zidane, the keeper, El Hadari, Wael Goma. Top team. And I'm not sure this one has the same quality, but in Mo Salah, they probably possess the best African player, in best African footballer currently. So you look at it and you think maybe they have a chance. And what about Morocco? The Atlas Lions last won this tournament in 1976. Yeah, even I wasn't born and I'm an old man. So can they do it this time? They were excellent in Qatar. They got to the semis, first African team to do so, and they beat heavyweights along the way. They beat your Spain, they beat your Belgium, and even France, they gave it a good old fight. So can they win on the continent? Can they win the trophy? I think the key thing for them is, can they deal with being the favorites? Because I think it was easier to stay compact and organized and hit people on the counter against Belgium or against Spain, or what do they, or against Portugal, what do they do now when everyone will be now telling them, you take the initiative? I think that's the only question. I'm not doubting they can win it. I'm just feeling like that maybe is the question they have to answer. Can they take the initiative from the word go, and can they push forward, and can they force the agenda? If they do so, then I feel they have as good a chance as any, because we would all look at them and say probably the best team in Africa currently. The question is whether the Atlas Lions can go on and win this. They haven't won it in a long time, in many years. Can they do it now? I think it's 48 years ago the last time they did it. I think they also are a team to watch. And then there's a team that people haven't quite spoken about them a lot, and that's Algeria. They won it in 2019. Not quite sure what went on in the next one, but they have beaten Senegal in a friendly, and they've won their opening 2 games, the World Cup qualifiers, and they still have Riyad Mahrez. Who knows? Again, not playing at the very top as he was last year. Does that affect them? Does it not? I think that's a question. That's another question. You've got to look at them and wonder what is going to happen there. So I also feel they also could be in with a shout. Cameroon, always in the mix. Always in the mix. When you talk about Afcon, you've got to talk about Cameroon. Always in the mix. And remember, their first ever Afcon triumph was in Ivory Coast back in 84. Always in the mix, but I feel like they will fall just short this time round. Why? Mbeumo is injured. Abubakar, there were reports that he got injured. He may not play at all in the tournament. And then you come back and look at what's happening with the Onana situation. Oh, now we are going, now we are not going. Now I'm playing for United first, then I'm doing. Onana is almost always a disruptive element, and that hasn't helped the team. And I wonder whether they will fall just short because they'll be missing 3 key players, especially in attack. Because if you don't have Mbeumo and you don't have Abubakar, what's going to happen? And I'm not sure Choupo-Moting is in the team. I'm not sure he's there. So I wonder whether, but never write off Cameroon. They are a championship, they are a tournament team. They always bring it when it comes to tournaments. So they will be there in the shout, but I feel like they are a bit short-handed. Of course, they are the other teams. The Super Eagles, wonderful attack. They've got great players in attack, none more so than, of course, Mr. Osimhen himself. Question is, they've lost Victor Boniface. Wilfred Ndidi is also out. He's just struggled with injury, that young man, in the last season, in the last maybe 1 year. He's really struggled with injuries, hasn't quite gotten going. And they have a coach who I am not really confident in. I'm not sure Pereira is the guy. Pereira Peseiro, yeah. Yes. I'm not quite sure he's the guy. He hasn't looked for me like they have had funny results. They haven't just been free-flowing. They've had funny results in the recent past. And you look at them and you ask yourself, can they find it? And I also feel like they've got a good attack, good to great attack. They maybe have a decent midfield, but do they have a solid enough defense? Do they have it? I'm not sure they do, and I think that might be the question. Of course, they lost Boniface to injury. I'm just not sure. The Super Eagles, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure they've got it all in them and whether they'll be able to deal with it. And also remember, and even just picking the squad, the coach didn't pick the whole 27 players. He picked a few less, a couple less. So no, we're quite sure. And what about my one of my favorite teams in Africa, the Black Stars of Ghana? Now, on paper, Ghana should be doing well. They've got Semenyo from Bournemouth. They've got Kudus, who's been incredible at West Ham. They've got Inaki Williams. They've got Jordan Ayew. Of course, Dede is quite possibly moving on along in age. Maybe may not necessarily start every game or may not start, may come off the bench. But for some reason, Ghana just haven't gotten going. Chris Hughton struggling with the team. Just struggling to get the team going. They've barely scored a goal in the first half. They lost to Comoros, if I'm not mistaken. They barely beat Madagascar. And you ask yourself, can he get them playing with freedom? Can he get them playing like a team that can express itself? Because you look at the quality of the players and you think they could do something. But I think that's a big question in there. So those for me are some of the highlights, some of the big teams you look forward to. Of course, you will look at the Ivory Coast. They are playing at home. They are always a good team. The Ivory Coast are always a good team. The question is, can they go on all the way, especially when they are playing at home and the pressure of playing at home? Because playing at home, there is some pressure. Everyone expects you should go ahead and win. Like, why not? You must go on and win it. Why not win? So that will be the question. Can the Ivory Coast go on and do it? They've got good players. Make no mistake. They've got a good, solid side. When you look at some of the players that are in that team, you look at it and you think, yeah, fantastic players. They could do something, could do a good job about it. They've got quality players in it there. Sebastian Haller, who's really... that he's playing at the Afcon is a miracle given what he's gone through in the last 18 months. He hasn't scored too much at Dortmund, but you know what? He is the guy to look forward to. So when you look at their quality, they've got a good team in there, but it's not exactly Yaya Toure, Didier Drogba, Zokora, Joel Thierry. It's not exactly that Sakatiene, sorry, it's not that cool. It's not Bonaventure Kalu. It's not exactly that quality. But then again, who in Africa has got a dominant team? When you think about it, which is the one dominant? Maybe Morocco, maybe Senegal, but who's really that dominant team? So you get the feeling that it's really, really wide open. And always keep a keen eye on Burkina Faso, another tournament team. They always find a way to go in there, but it should be a cracking tournament. I hope we see the return of African football, flair, imagination, creativity, a bit of gung-ho football. At times it's too... We've all turned into all these tactical, hard to break down, organized teams. I miss the good old Afcon when you had Kalusha Bwali on one side and you had Austin Okocha on the other side, and you had Patrice Mboma and you had Laurent Etamemaya. Like when players just had a go. I hope we have one of those tournaments where players just have a go and players can express themselves. Anyone who watched Abutrika, knows exactly what I'm talking about. If you watch Mohamed Zidane in Afcon 2008, you know what I'm talking about. Or Michael Essien, Oyaya Toure when he was playing for the Ivory Coast. Hopefully you have something like that. The opening game, of course, it's Ivory Coast versus Guinea-Bissau. On paper, this is a non-issue. It should be straightforward. They should go in there and win it. The Ivory Coast should go there and win it. They are in Group A. I think Ivory Coast and the Super Eagles could find their way out of there. Equatorial Guinea, maybe they will both beat, but Guinea-Bissau could be a potential banana skin. Potential. Not saying they will, but they could be a potential banana skin when you look at them and the way they are. So that's Group A. Group B, of course, Egypt, Ghana, Cape Verde, and Mozambique. Egypt should maybe get out of that. I'm not sure about Ghana because they've struggled against so-called smaller teams. They've got to find a way versus Cape Verde and Mozambique. Group C, Senegal, Cameroon, Guinea, and the Gambia. Guinea have a wonderful striker, the German gentleman who plays in Germany. Can he be the main guy? And Gambia have had all sorts of issues, whether it was bonuses, whether it was them in a plane that had to go back home. But that is normally what makes a team go out there and do the job. So do not rule them out. Then Algeria, Burkina Faso, Mauritania, and Angola. I think that's the most straightforward group. Algeria and Burkina Faso book their tickets to the round of 16. Tunisia, Mali, South Africa, and Namibia. Tunisia will book away. I think they're always a solid team. Almost always find a way around it. Mali, on their day, really good, but South Africa have a good coach in Hugo Broos. And can he lead them? He's in his 70s. I think he can. South Africa versus Namibia will be a very, very good game. And then Morocco versus DR Congo, Zambia, and Tanzania. Again, I have a soft spot for Zambia. I hope they get out of that group together, of course, with Morocco. Tanzania will have to find a way to find the goals. They'll have... It's tough and it's great and it starts tonight. And like I said, you can watch it. There are options to watch it. A week ago, we were wondering why you're going to watch it. Now the options are there. So get ready. Enjoy the Afcon. May the best team win. And I really hope that my Black Stars of Ghana can do something. Can at least make an impact. At least get to the semis. Ghana last won this in 1982. It's about time. But from an analytical point of view, you feel like it's Morocco or Senegal. And of course, the team that's playing at home. Who among them? I think the winner comes from those ones. And maybe Egypt.